How long could you hold a grudge? What could cut you so deep that you would never let it go? Have you ever imagined a slight so large that you put a gulf between yourself and someone else? These are all answered yes by the Iron Warriors, which is this week's Thursday show. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Carter Reynolds, here on 5 Up Recovery, and this is Thursdays with Horus. We're doing the Iron Warriors tonight, a fun one. I've never played Iron Warriors, but I know a lot of players, so I get to see them on the field a lot. Had a lot of Salamanders versus Iron Warriors, so nice. Every time I get trounced, I just call it Istvan. But fantastic. Very cool Legion. I've got a interesting list put together. Some really cool characters. Specifically, the Iron Warriors have very, very characterful characters. They have really cool options, and we'll break into the lore a little bit. Talk about a good book to read if you are a fan of the Legion. And starting out as always, just what's on your hobby table. I'm taking kind of a little break from the Alpha Legion. I've just been working on them for like a month and a half, 2 months. So I'm kind of hitting a little bit of the exhaustion point. So I'm going to shift gears, playing my Salamanders tomorrow. So I am working on some Inducti and a Praetorian command squad for them, just to give them a little more melee punch than and some more troops to back up what I already had. So still looking at Knights as well. Knights are a slow drip, but they'll be coming. In fact, next week we're not going to roll to see what Legion we do. We have 12 left, so we can move to a 12-sided die. But I'm going to do Knights as a little break. And then we'll come back to the Legions right after that. So the Iron War, and as always with your hobby table, take some pictures, post them, comment, whatever you're working on these days. I'd love to hear it. So the Iron Warriors, the 4th Legion. Oh, the grim, bitter siege mongers of the traitor legions. The polar opposite of the Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists would build defenses, and the Iron Warriors tear them down. They are led by Perturabo, just visually one of the coolest Primarchs. He's got like a bunch of like cabling and stuff like that sticking into his head. He's buried in his armor, which is just like gigantic and very unique to him. Just a really cool looking Primarch. And really fun Legion. Like, if you're looking at good books, they are all over the first half of the Siege of Terra, which is just like one of my jumping off points. It's like kind of like read all this excellent stuff and then go back, find your favorite characters, and catch up with the Horus Heresy books. That's kind of what I did. But first half of the Siege of Terra, they are all over the place. They are doing most of the legwork. Perturabo is the siege master, is pretty much running the entire operation. And a great book is called The First Wall. I believe it's the second book in the series, and it is them taking a spaceport on Terra so they could start landing their Titans and their bulk loaders and most of their troops. It follows this guy Foryx, and it's Foryx. Like, I never thought that I'd find an Iron Warriors character that I not that I couldn't relate to, or not that I didn't think it was a good character, but I would like, you know what I mean? That's kind of their grim and real short with people and stuff. So it's just like, these guys aren't really likable. A lot of Traitor Legions aren't really likable. It's like the whole point. But then they write this guy Foryx so well that I was like, never mind, throw that out. Like, any of these legions can have human characters, and that's what it's all about. But Foryx gets lost in this space station without resupply for like, I want to say weeks, and like his armor is breaking down, and they're like running out of their weapons are malfunctioning, and it's just a really, like, it really hits that bitter edge, like it's almost, it isn't quite, but it almost is like survival horror, just in like the resource management and like, are they going to make it or not, because they're not really like famous named characters. So and that's the thing about the Horus Heresy and the Siege of Terra, is like, you know, any guy that's not like, you know, Abaddon or someone that you can buy in 40K, like you don't know if they're gonna make it or not. Like, add some of that human drama. It's nice. Uh, but yeah, Iron Warriors. Check out the first wall by Gav Thorpe. If you know, if you're reading the books in order, it's the second one, so you'll get there pretty fast. And one of my other favorite parts, just lore-wise, of specifically Perturabo, was at the beginning of the siege. There's like hundreds upon thousands of void shields around all of Terra. You know, massive force fields that have these generators deep underground, and Perturabo, you know, has unlimited firepower and the most powerful firepower in the galaxy. And he's dumping it onto these void shields, which are the most powerful void shields in the galaxy. So it's like, you know, completely equal. And he has to test, like, by firing all these shells and all these shots, he tests them very minutely, and then finds the one weakness and then hits that with everything and then cripples one small part. And he does this bit by bit, like unraveling a sweater of force fields. It was just a really cool moment. I was a big fan. The whole book is really cool. Gave me a whole new perspective on the Iron Warriors, and that's what it's all about. So let's go into the loadout of the Iron Warriors, and then into the list that I built. Iron Warriors have a really nice Legion Tactica. The bitter end, they ignore the modifier of pinning, stun, suppressive, and panic. So any of the status effects that would hit leadership or cool from shooting, they ignore. Which just means it's going to keep them in the game. I didn't give Voxes to my guys because I figured they're going to be so good at, it's, you know, it's like they're like, you know, they're not good enough for Voxes. They're just thrown in there into the meat grinder, you know. But just their Legion rule makes them really resistant to statuses, which is important for scoring and for everything in this game. Their Gambit is a Spiteful Demise, where if they get taken out in the following strike, like they call this Gambit, and if they get taken out in the strike phase, they get this one shot, like strength 6, breaching 5 up, damage 2 attack. That's just like, you know, like hopefully they can take someone down on their way out. It's just so flavorful. It's just, you know, just like, well, you beat me, well, guess what? Like, I beat you too. Like, very Perturabo, very Iron Legions, or Iron Warriors, excuse me. Their advanced reaction is fantastic. It's just a better version of Return Fire. Bitter Fury. Very, you know, these guys were very bitter. We'll see how many times I can use that word in 20 to 30 minutes. But Bitter Fury is they get shot at, and then, you know, just like Return Fire, you get up to step 11 where you're going to remove casualties. And right before you do that, everyone fires back, but they get +1 firepower. However, also overload 1. So it's, you know, it's this high risk, high reward. You know, some guns, it's just gonna I mean, I can't think of a single gun that +1 firepower isn't good. You know, if it's mass shots, even better. If it's just a couple shots, like, or one shot, you're getting 2 of them, even better. You know, and I would love to see it if bless you, if you've got a bunch of disintegrators, or like some, you know, the big Saturnine Terminators with the dual disintegrators, and you just you boost your overload up to 3, like, I respect the heck out of you. That would be something to see on the field. I think it would probably obliterate both units completely. But fun, you know, just really cool with that advanced reaction. A lot of good stuff you could do. Very, you know, very powerful one. That's a once per battle, which makes sense. Finally, the detachments, they have 2 really good ones. One of them's kind of absurd. It's the Hammer of Olympia. It's an Apex detachment, and it is effectively a Warlord detachment. You can only take this if you have... Oh, wait, you can take it with a Warsmith. Check that. This is... The Apex detachment has 2 Shock Assault slots, one of which is Prime, 2 Elite slots, one of which is Prime, and a Heavy Transport. That's everything you could want from your Apex slots. And, you know, instead of buying the Armored Fist detachment with 4 heavy transports or using a Log Benny on it, a logistic benefit, you get to throw it right into your Apex detachment. That's fantastic. I didn't take one because I thought it was only for Perturabo, but you can get that with just a Warsmith. That's another interesting... Well, let's do the other detachment, is the Iron Fire Cohort. 2 armor slots, 2 support slots, but your armor slots can only use Aquator Bombards, which I think are all fantastic. They suffer, the only problem they suffer from is just being in resin, which is, you know, Dream plastic. I've got a couple on this list. Most of the lists I write are dreaming that everything could be in plastic someday. But, you know, even if not, like a couple resin models in there. But yeah, I would love to see the Aquator Bombard, and I would love to see the Termite Drill in plastic. My goodness. I've got a Death Guard army that would just, it's just sitting in the wings waiting on those Aquator Bombards. GW, if you tune it in. But whatever the case, really good solid attachment. Support slots are always good. 2 support slots and 2 bombards is really gonna kind of, you know, that's that siege right there. That's siege warfare. You know, you're taking them out with long range firepower, bombarding them. You know, it's just as good as it gets. The armory is pretty simple. Their prime slot that can be put on any infantry gives them expendable 1, which is awesome. Like, just, you know, if it's Vanguard or if it's First Strike, anything that you would score points for a kill, expendable 1 would subtract 1 from those points. So just, you know, once again, like that little bitter bite. This is like, oh yeah, you took me out. Well, nuh-uh. Like, here's something for it. The other thing they get in their armory is Graviton Crusher, which is, it replaces a Thunderhammer for free, and it's just a better Thunderhammer. It's +1 strength, armor bane, and shock pinning, which is, you know, rare in a melee weapon, but very cool. If you can pin a transport, like, in fact, I want to like just talk about watching out for Graviton weapons in general. I'm seeing this now as the additions come out. When you're deploying, be very careful with the enemy's Graviton. It's not the longest range, but it can pin vehicles. And, you know, if a Predator gets pinned, not the end of the world. It's still got its guns to fire and all that. But if a Spartan gets pinned, you're gonna have a bad time. So watch out for watch out for gravity weapons in general, and then watch out for these Graviton Crushers. Or if you were an Iron Warriors player, sign up one of those Graviton Crushers, man. Ooh, almost spilled midnight coffee. Finally, they get a unique high command, which I want to talk about. It's I've talked about, you know, Praetors just being like, not as up. They can get all of the items and all the gear, and they unlock, you know, special things for your army, but they can't get a prime slot, so you can't really give them that interesting spice that you can kind of give your other characters. The Iron Warriors have a Warsmith, which is like a souped up Tech Marine. It's a Tech Marine mixed with a Praetor, effectively. Really cool unit. You know, watch out for those unique high command options, especially when they're not a named character. That makes them even more interesting and more unique and flavorful, which is what we're all about here. So I definitely went with the Warsmith. And the other thing I'll talk about is they have 2 unique units, one of which is the Iron Circle Maniple, which are the sweet, awesome, like robot looking things. Where Perturabo always has, like, I think, like, you know, 7 of them or 6 of them, something like that, with him at all times. They're pricey. They're kind of like mini dreadnoughts at 135 points after the initial 150 point buy-in. So, you know, they're like cheap 4-wound dreadnoughts with they've got Graviton Crushers, so they're smashing stuff with those +4 strength AP2 2 damage attacks. So just a really fun, big, bulky unit, and they have impact attacks. And you know me, I love any bonus on the charge. Sign me up. Impact attacks, let's do it. The other guys, the Tyrant Siege Terminators are one of my personal favorites. I love, I think everybody, you know, who doesn't love anime missiles, just like, you know, those giant missile pods with as many missiles as possible. Well, these Tyrant Siege Terminators have those on like their shoulders. They've got the big box rocket launchers, really powerful rocket launchers as well, and they're cataphracti, souped up for shooting. They can take something called an omniscope, which ignores cover saves, which is freaking-tastic when you're firing some of these breaching shots, or the one of them's AP3. And that's the thing, is they can fire the missile launchers as a swarm where you get tons of shots, and they have breaching 6-up, so you a lot of good targets for that. Or they've got a strength 9 AP3, but heavy damage 1. So they're effectively las cannons with less AP, but they have Armor Bane, which is really good on mat. You know, you can get like 10 of these firing at once, just massing that Armor Bane on strength 9. Really big fan of the Tyrant Siege Terminators. I took a big block in my list, and you know, the Iron Warriors. I want to take 1 second and talk about one of my friends plays Iron Warriors, and he just hit me with his list. He did something different than I did, but he went anything. He went cheap, expendable, anything that he could take that was, you know, kind of the basic model, like just a Predator, just a Vindicator, tactical squads up the wazoo. He did take some Breachers, which is awesome, very Iron Warriors. But like he just went with as many cheap units as possible, just regular Cataphracties on the field. He did take Saturnines as well, but he didn't take any of the special like command Saturnines, just straight Saturnines. So it was like everything was just, you know, the basic style unit, but he had a ton of them, and he cleaned my clock. Yeah, I was playing Alpha Legion. I was trying to slow drip, you know, my units in, and he was just he was just wiping out everything like as it came into the field. It was a good match, hell of a match. But let's get into this list I've got, the Grim Bulwark. First of all, we'll go through the characters, then the Crusade detachment, and then I'll break down the other detachments as I took them. I took a Warsmith, had to. He comes with a Graviton Crusher, that souped up Thunderhammer. He's got a Cortex controller, so he could go with Automata and still give them reactions. He's got a Cognis Signum, so he can make your barrage checks more accurate. If he sees a target, when something fires barrage indirectly, then they get to fire normally. They don't roll the double scatter. Or they don't roll the full scatter and all that noise like the old classic style. They would roll the hit with the light scatter like you do nowadays. So Cognis Signum's, you know, very good for those Morbus or the Aquator Bombards. Also good for shells coming in. Well, I'll get back into that as I get deeper into the list. So Warsmith, he's a high command. He's got all this fun stuff. He unlocks an Apex detachment, which I didn't take, but he also gives you your extra reaction, which is really important. In the command slot, I took a Centurion in Terminator armor, gave him the Graviton Crusher. As anytime I could take one of those, I took them. It's like, you know, like my new Power Fist. The Centurion Terminator armor, I went with Tartaros. I took a unit of Tartaros Terminator, just to get a faster, you know, a quick Vanguard unit I wanted to see. And then I took a huge brick of the Tyrant Siege Terminator. So I've got like my big slow guys. But I just wanted to go something a little unique. So it's Terminator, Centurion armor. And then I took a Siege Breaker. Siege Breakers unlocks a Phosphex shells for your Aquator Bombards and your quad launchers. Better believe I took both. I also gave that Siege Breaker comes with a Siege Breaker like normal, comes with a Thunderhammer, but with this chance, this one I got the chance to give him the Graviton Crusher. So also has Phosphex bombs. There's a lot of Phosphex in this list. This Death Guard fans will be proud of this list. I kind of like anytime I take the Phosphex, I took the Phosphex. And I gave the Siege Breaker the Prime Paragon of Battle. He's got a Thunderhammer. He's a nice, scary little threat. He's also got the Cognis Signum. So, you know, you can plant him in a unit that's just kind of moving up the field. You could peek him in with like tactical squads or something like that, kind of hidden. I'm putting him with the Breacher squad personally, but then when he comes out, it's just like suddenly it's like, whoa, this guy can swing. This guy can hit like a Praetor, you know, kind of a little secret dropped into your list there. I like him, and he works just like the Warsmith. Oh, one thing I forgot about the Warsmith. The Warsmith has Battlesmith 2, which means he can repair vehicles and remove status effects from vehicles. So really cool. Kind of gives him a little bit of a different, I mean, he's fantastic at smashing heads, but you almost want to park him back in your vehicles or have him moving with the vehicles so you can be fixing them along the way and stuff like that. I'll talk about what I put him once I get the rest of the army. So those are my 3 characters. Just went 3 this time. 3 characters, 3 auxiliary detachments. You know, all based around the siege mentality. Troops wise in this list, instead of my buddy went cheap, I went Horde. I tried to play the Iron Warriors as a Horde force. So I took 2 squads of 20 tacticals, just with bolters, and I give melta bombs to the sergeants. I just think they're cool and they're very useful. You know, you might be fighting knights And then, there's, your sergeant mixed in with your tactical squads is suddenly actually dealing like 4 wounds to these knights. Something to think about. I like melt bombs. So 2 squads of tactical marines, both at 20, it's 40. And then I have a 16-man squad with the shrapnel bolters. So overall, it's 56 tacticals, should be good for flooding the field. And then I took a further 10-man breacher squad, gave them las cutters. Las cutters are good in melee, they're good against armor in melee and at short range. So I have those coming out of and then I put them in a termite drill, because once again, termites are cool. Just that siege idea, like they've got these walls up and you're just coming right in behind with your breacher squad that's coming out and trying to take an objective, trying to pop a vehicle, kind of good options for those guys. So moving into the auxiliary detachments, I took a armored support and just went real simple. 2 Vindicator siege tanks with the Magna laser destroyers. Tank hunting tanks, 100%. I have a decent amount of anti-armor in this list, but these guys free up my Tyrant Siege Terminators to use their breaching swarm missiles instead of having to go for their armor breaker every turn. So I took those 2 Vindicator Magna laser destroyers. I think they're great, sweet little snub-nosed tanks. The heavy plating and the 4-shot las cannon, cool looking stuff. Then I also took a heavy shock assault detachment there. I took 5 Tartaros Terminators with power fists to go with my Centurion. Just a 5-man squad. They're just quick, fast, moving up the field, kind of like mixed in with the tactical squads, going in to take out threats that might come at them. And then I took my big block. I took 10-man Tyrant Siege Terminators. It's 575 points. I don't know if it's competitive, but it's awesome. Just firing all the missiles. I think they get 3 in this, you're either firing, as long as all 10 are alive, ideally you're firing 10 las cannon shots into your vehicles, or I think they get 3 per shot on the swarming with heavy firepower. So you get 4 shots a guy with those swarming, breaching 6-up missiles. Like, that's just going to shred through troops. So 2 very good targets. As you can see, I kind of like went with multiple targets for a couple of my units here. Lastly, I took the Iron Fire Cohort Special Auxiliary detachment. I took 2 Arcwitter Bombards. I gave them the Morbus Bombard. I gave them Phosphex shells. They're going to really ruin some people's days. They're kind of my response to Terminators, my response to, command squads. That heavy 2-up infantry that you just, panic like 3. I love it. It's like, maybe it's panic 2, but whatever the case is, like, I can't take extra panic and I'm giving you all the extra panic. And then finally, I took 2 Rapier batteries, each with 2 carriages apiece. The first one is quad launchers with the Phosphex shells. You know it. We love it. And then I took 1 with the laser destroyers just to help out the Magna laser destroyer Vindicators. So you got some really powerful anti-tank, because you're going to be coming up against a lot of it in this edition. And even if not, you're going to want to pop rhinos. And pop them very, extremely efficiently. You want to get that first strike somehow. Popping a rhino with a Magna laser destroyer is the easy way to do that. And that's the list. Yeah, the characters, kind of fun. That Warsmith is so cool. A unique, generic high command. Very cool, very interesting. Siegebreaker with that Paragon of Battle to really smash it up. And then finally Centurion and Terminator armor just to really put that fist behind the Centurion squad. That's like, kind of like my flank Harrier unit right there. Doesn't really, pick some advanced targets for him to go into and bing, boom. Bing, bang, boom. So that is the list. I'd love to hear your feedback about your own Iron Warriors or whatever you've got on your hobby table right now. I've got my night coffee here, 5-up recovery, still hobbying, still sober. Next week we're doing knights, and then we'll get back to the Legion Astartes as we randomly pick the legions. Take care, everyone, and happy Thursday. Thanks for sticking around this long, and if you'd like, hit like and subscribe. Appreciate you.